Welcome to Australia's 4th National Dinosaur Day. Now, make sure you visit your local museums to help support their ongoing efforts to present and uncover Australia's fascinating prehistoric past. And to find out why the date May 7th was chosen as our National Dinosaur Day, please check out our video here. 2024 is the centenary of the first serious dinosaur discovery in Australia. But before we get to that, let's start with a little myth. Well, I don't think myth is the right word. Let's say we are starting with the best answer we have at the moment. Some sources claim Rhoetosaurus was the first dinosaur discovered in Queensland. But there is possibly an older dinosaur unearthed in Cape York in 1844. And hopefully one day we will learn the truth about the highly controversial Agrosaurus and the HMS Fly. But let's talk about Queensland's first named dinosaur. In 1926, the Brisbane Courier carried the following story on the 5th of April. The discovery near Roma, Queensland, of fossil remains of a dinosaur, 40 feet long, makes certain what we have believed and that there is still abundant material in Australia yet to be discovered, says Mr. Frederick Chapman, paleontologist at the Melbourne Museum. The presence of dinosaurs in Australia, he added, had been proved by 2 teeth of herbivorous forms and 1 claw of a carnivorous form which had previously been discovered. The specimen which had been found in Roma, however, was larger than well-known iguanodon found fossilised in England, which had a length of only 18 feet. The description given suggested that the Roma specimen was also an iguanodon, a huge herbivorous dinosaur which walked on its hind legs like a kangaroo. An iguanodon more than twice the size of any such species found before? Well, that was news. It was also wrong. These fossils had been unearthed in 1924 by the station manager of a cattle farm around Roma, who'd found fragmented bones weathering out of the dark soil there while on a ride one day. These were clearly old and from something large, so the bones were collected and a selection were forwarded to the Queensland Museum. Herbert Longman was a self-trained paleontologist at the Queensland Museum who received the bones. He was born in Wiltshire, England, and thanks to a severe chest weakness meant in 1902 he emigrated to the warmer climate of Australia and settled in Toowoomba, Queensland. In 1904 he married Irene Maud Bailey, who would later become the first woman elected to the Queensland Parliament. Always interested in natural history, Longman collected botanical specimens and helped establish the local Field Naturalists Club. In 1918 he became the director of the Queensland Museum and transitioned from an interest in botany to paleontology. In 1926, Longman released his paper on these central Queensland fossils. As will be seen from the descriptions, the Durnham Downs specimen cannot be associated, for fairly obvious reasons, with the claw of a carnivorous dinosaur from Victoria, and still less with the other 2 records. Many comparisons have been made between our material and descriptions of dinosaurs from other parts of the world. And, apart from the special significance of this discovery in Queensland, that the caudal vertebrae exhibit distinctive characters which require generic recognition. Longman then named the Roma specimen Rhoetosaurus brownii, or Rhetos lizard, and brownii after Arthur Brown, the station manager who had found the bones. Now, Rhetos was a titan that was also possibly one of the centaurs from Greek mythology. Longman then in his description explained, this Durnham Downs fossil is the first consequential discovery of a large dinosaur in Australia, but there are 3 previous records of fragments. The first, of course, was Agrosaurus, collected during the voyage of the HMS Fly. The second, and why today is National Dinosaur Day, was found on May 7th, 1906, and this was the Cape Patterson claw, from a theropod, or carnivorous dinosaur. The third was an opal from New South Wales, reported in 1909. These, however, were all fragmentary remains, and of course there's even some doubt Agrosaurus had even been found in Australia. Now the problem with Agrosaurus was, when people started to investigate these bones that were stored in the British Museum, they started to notice that this species was very similar to another one found in England, and that the rock that the dinosaur was found in was also very similar to that area. Now something I find very strange is, this place was called Durdham Downs, whereas Rhoetosaurus was found at Durnham Downs. So what an unusual coincidence. The names of both locations are almost the same. It's very possible that this is all incorrect, that Agrosaurus had actually been found in Cape York, which means it is a real Australian dinosaur from the Triassic, which not only makes it Australia's oldest dinosaur, but also Australia's first dinosaur. But as I said at the beginning, this is still highly controversial and more work needs to be done on Agrosaurus. Queensland's Rhoetosaurus dig had produced numerous bones, and over the coming decades, more expeditions went to the area and often came back with even more fossils from this dinosaur. These revealed Rhoetosaurus was no kangaroo-like iguanodon. Instead, what they'd unearthed was a sauropod, one of the titanic four-legged dinosaurs with long necks and long tails. But this was an unusual one. It had primitive features. For example, the rear legs had 4 clawed toes, where more advanced sauropods had only 3. Looking at the fossil record, the closest species to Rhoetosaurus was likely China's Rhoetosaurus, which was an odd sauropod, as it's known to possess a large bony club on the end of its tail, something that's been speculated Rhoetosaurus also had. This would have been a ferocious weapon being whipped around with a very long tail. Imagine a whip with a giant rock at the end, and you can imagine how much that would hurt. Rhoetosaurus was estimated to have been around 15 metres or 49 feet long, and weighed about 9 tonnes. This would make it on the small size for a Jurassic sauropod. Now, for decades, Rhoetosaurus was the Australian sauropod, but then more complete dinosaurs started to appear, like Rhoetosaurus, and then those fabulous gigantic sauropod finds around Winton. Still, nothing can take away Rhoetosaurus' place as Queensland and Australia's first dinosaur unearthed with reasonable fossil size. Well, you know, until. That's it for this year's National Dinosaur Day. Rhoetosaurus, Queensland and Australia's very first possible named dinosaur. Now make sure you get out and visit your local museum and keep an eye out as June is National Fossil Day. And boy, do we have a story for you then. Thanks for your time and make sure you like and subscribe.